Thank you. Good afternoon. Dumelang. That's greetings from my home language. Hi, how are we doing? That's very good to hear. Um, so I just wanted to start quickly by not only apologizing to myself, but those who know me as an activist, because I came without my makeup, my dresses, and my wigs, acknowledging that I need to diminish my light. And I think this is very important to speak to this. And I will start with the words of Kimberly Cranshaw, because what better way to start talking about intersectional inclusion? And she acknowledges that it is a prism for seeing the way in which various forms of inequality often operate together and exasperate each other. More importantly, that it is a lens which you can see where power comes and collides, where it interlocks and intersects. And I think this is very important in acknowledging, and I will try to be as practical as possible because I've changed my speech like 7 times. So when we speak about inclusive development, what does that mean? And I've got 3 key points in terms of ensuring that we leave no one behind. The first is failing forward. We've all discussed failing, but we need to acknowledge that failing is a part of growth. A lot of companies speak about piloting, and so why don't we give ourselves the grace of acknowledging and recognizing that failing forward is really integral to the success of impact. This not only looks like acknowledging and harnessing and being vulnerable enough for failure, but it's also ensuring that there's long-term investments to allow for it. Secondly, I think it's important because when we speak about a movement, it's not just one organization or institution. You can get a successful intervention in strategic litigation, but if there aren't any creatives, if there aren't any educators, if there aren't any allies who can help effect change, then there might be a little bit of a loss in some of the gains that are made. And I don't need to repeat some of the losses that we have experienced on many social justice fronts. Secondly, intersectionality, inclusion is not an end point. There can't ever be an end point. And I think it's important for us to recognize that a lot of our work, the ways of working, the culture, how we engage, how we organize, is really part of the journey. And so how do we recalibrate and reframe our interventions in that way? Thirdly, it's about justice. What does justice look like when there might be passive aggression, when there might be sexual harassment, even within safe spaces, and particularly when emotional labor is part of the work that's being done over and above what one is being paid for. And I think this is important, particularly in recognizing how a lot of intersecting issues are invisible and deeply structural. More importantly, how do we ensure that accountability and protection aren't as linear as many log frames and theories of change? I would like to also then debunk several elements. And this is triggered by Stella Nyanzi, who then spoke about how she got into activism from academics, when she said, suddenly, those I was studying, writing about, recording, could die, speaking about the queer community. And for me, what does that mean? That you recognize and acknowledge that you have power. Even if there is a board, even if there is a backdoor donor, even if there are taxpayers. And this is critical and important to acknowledge. Secondly, recognizing that collectivism wins. And I think this is important in recognizing that an ecosystem, in order to thrive, whether you're thinking about the Arab Spring, whether you're thinking about Fees Must Fall, whether you're thinking about the Shut It Down protest or the End SSMPA protests in Nigeria, it's critical to recognize that everyone plays a role, whether it's via Twitter, whether it's on the street, or it's in providing legal assistance. And I think what's important for this, as the last gesture, as I'm seeing the sign, is in recognizing that solidarity is like sunshine. Everyone deserves a little bit of it. And for all of us to bloom, more importantly, we need to recognize and acknowledge the need to fund rest, the need to fund strategic thinking, and acknowledging that there's deep intergenerational healing that is needed to ensure Pan-African liberation that not only reflects the indivisibility and universality of human rights, but also the interdependence and intersectional nature of leaving no one behind. Thank you.